Hello, Highlands Presbyterian on this first Sunday after Easter Sunday. And so we're talking about the road to Emmaus today. And it's this incredible story where these two disciples, Cleopas and the other disciple, they're heading back to the road to Emmaus. And they have this disappointment. And Cleopas says, we had hoped that he was the Messiah. And he's in doing so, he's saying he wasn't the Messiah because it didn't turn out like they expected it to. And so they've had this crushing disappointment, and they're headed back to Emmaus. And this stranger joins them on the journey and is walking with them. And one of the things that's amazing is that I think the story calls us to be a curious people, because these two disciples had placed themselves in the right place at the right time, surrounded by the right people, because they were there when the women came back from the tomb and reported that the tomb was empty. They were there, right? Other disciples went to the garden to see the tomb for themselves. They were there, right there at one of the most significant moments in human history. They were there in Jerusalem on the first Easter morning, and they heard the story that the tomb was empty. And what did they do? They left, and they went home. It's so disappointing. All of their hopes have been crushed. And so they decided to go home. And they missed it. They didn't go to the garden for themselves. They stopped being curious. But even in their disappointment, Jesus met them. But it doesn't mean that their disappointment immediately ended, because they walked for 7 miles to Emmaus. And Jesus, it's amazing, he starts with Moses. He starts with Moses and unfolds all of the Old Testament, how it's all pointing to him, which reminds us that we don't just read the New Testament, right? People say, oh, I like the God of the Old Testament, not the New. No, it's one story. It's one story. Jesus himself says that. But the disciples were still disappointed on the walk, but it's when they got to Emmaus and they broke bread and they realized it was Jesus. The whole time, Jesus had always been with them. Jesus had never left them. It was in the breaking of bread that they realized this. And so too may God be with you. Even when you don't realize it, God is with you. And may we break bread together and recognize his presence in our midst.